he can do that anytime he's up, but in that spot we had clearly been pretty dead offensively, and he got that ball off his leg earlier and was hobbling around, and for him to gut through it and get to third was huge.
Just to keep the line moving after, I know we talked a lot about runners in scoring position. What did you see from your offense?
Yeah, 2 outs, nobody on, right? And I don't know how many, 7 hits that? 6? Yeah, and just the quality of what they swung at, too. I mean, Brazoban came in, did a good job yesterday. Today, once we got the line moving a little bit, the guys put some really good swings on it. Lofton's at-bat was a great at-bat. Clearly, Salvi, giving us the lead. And so many things happened in that inning. Blanco, then taking the extra bases, going first to third to keep setting up runners in scoring position. I mean, like we've talked about, sometimes we're not going to come through, but we got to keep putting pressure on and keep putting ourselves in those positions.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Thursday, June 27th, 2024. Stephen St. John with Jake Guterrez. Today on the show, we're going to have Buster Olney from ESPN, our baseball insider, in the 7 o'clock hour. Then, of course, Gary Dieter and Anthony Sherman. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star. So as always, a packed show for you on a Thursday. Lots of stuff going on. It's been like that's been the theme the past couple of days. And very important what went on yesterday afternoon at Kauffman Stadium, because the Royals won 5-1. And that was scary, because the Royals damn near lost again to the Marlins and almost lost the series. And the Bats were almost asleep for the entire game. After Miami scored a single run in the second inning, that was a score for most of the game, 1-0. And it looked like the Royals were on their way to being shut out, until finally they put across 5 runs in the 8th inning, and they won 5-1. I mean, imagine if they lost that game 1-0, and they had just lost another disappointing series, and then they had to get ready to take on the Cleveland Guardians in a 4-game series, feeling terrible after not being able to score runs over the weekend, and then not being able to score runs consistently in this series against the Marlins. We may look back at that 8th inning rally as a huge turning point, hopefully, for the Royals in this homestand, and hell, maybe even in this season. And look, that 8th inning didn't start out too promising. Everything started with 2 outs, right? Michael Massey struck out, and Garcia grounds out, so Bobby Witt Jr. comes up. But as he has been many times so far this season, he was the spark with that triple. And after that, floodgates open. After the Bobby Witt Jr. triple, Vinny Pasquantino brings him home with a single, so the score is tied. Then Salvi with a double. Then Lofton with a single. Then MJ Melendez with a single. And then Hunter Renfroe walks. And then, again, one of the unsung heroes of the season so far this year, Freddie Fermin, comes up with a big hit and drives in 2, and then that was it. Massey comes up and ends the inning the way he started it, with an out, but he grounds out. But the Royals went through the lineup. They batted around and ended up putting up 5 runs and 6 hits in that 8th inning, and that was plenty for MacArthur as he came in and shut the Marlins down 1-2-3 in the 9th, and the Royals win 5-1. And again, look, 2 outs in the 8th inning. I don't think anyone felt very good. I certainly didn't. And it felt like I was thinking about, man, how are we going to talk about this tomorrow? Getting shut down by not a great prospect that had a 5 ERA in the minors, making his major league debut, and then getting him out of there, or him leaving finally and still not being able to do anything against this bullpen, against a team that had entered yesterday at 28-51, a team that's just not very good. But, hey, Jake, you brought it up a couple of times, and I kind of had fun with you when you talked about them showing a never say die attitude in that first loss to the A's last week in that series in Oakland. But they showed a never say die attitude and the ability to come back last night, even though it was one run. It seemed like more because the Royals just haven't been able to score. And even though they were home and the Marlins aren't very good and it was one run, it did not seem promising because the Royals just went through a 25-inning stretch where they didn't score for 25 consecutive innings. And so you're thinking, yeah, it's possible that the Royals could get shut out here by the Marlins in this rubber match of the three-game series. I mean, they did nothing. But, man, oh, man, Bobby Witt Jr. hits the triple, and that's like he injected life into the rest of the lineup, into the rest of the team. Everyone fed off of it, and there you go. I mean, they were dead offensively. 2 outs, nobody on, 8th inning, down 1-0. And then, look, the Royals had scored 2 runs or fewer in 5 of their last 7 games. Wrap your head around that. They had scored 2 runs or fewer in 5 of their last 7 games. And so the odds weren't great, you know? And then even think about Brady Singer, who pitched very well, right? He only gave up 5 hits and a walk, struck out 5. But the Royals have scored 2 runs or fewer in 12 of his 16 starts. Think about that. Brady Singer has been good this year. But in 12 of his 16 starts, the Royals have scored 2 runs or fewer, refusing to give him any type of consistent run support. But he said after the game it was incredible for the guys to grind back because that's how we're going to win games. And until they somehow can improve this offense via trade or several players turning their seasons around, they're going to have to scratch and claw to win games. The starting pitching during this tough stretch has been good enough. Many times the starting pitching has not received the proper run support or the bullpen has come in and blown things. But, I mean, just look at Singer and how frustrating that must be to have 16 starts and in 12 of them, essentially the offense is giving you 0 support. And you go 7 1/3 innings and you only give up 1 run and you leave that game and you're still down. And even, I mean, and that's, again, why you can't put too much into the win stat, right? Zerpa gets the win after firing 2/3 innings of shutout ball, and Brady Singer gets the no decision after 92 pitches and 7 1/3 innings of excellent pitching. And now he's got a 3.12 ERA for the season, but his record is 4-4. Can't buy a win. But boy, if I told you that Brady Singer halfway through the season was going to have a 3.12 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP, 85 strikeouts, and all those pretty peripheral numbers, we'd have signed up for it.
Sign me up.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's all good. But he's got 4 wins. But it ain't his fault. I mean, you got to be almost perfect when almost every time out the Royals are scoring 2 runs or less when you start. And maybe the law of averages, that'll even out, and he'll get a bunch of run support, and he'll have some games where he isn't sharp, and he can pick up some wins because that can't continue. But overall, you got to be thrilled with what he's done so far. He's thrown 89 innings, given up 79 hits, struck out 85, only walked 26. I mean, can't ask much more from him. And that's exactly what you were looking for. And again, now when you look overall, Seth Lugo's numbers, all-star worthy, terrific. Cole Reagan's except for those 2 starts where he gave up 7 earned runs in those starts. Take those 2 away, he's been Cy Young-like. And even with those 2 starts, his numbers are sparkling. And then you look at Brady Singer and what I just told you and what his numbers are with a 3.12 ERA. That 1-2-3 punch is fantastic. That's as good as anyone has in the league as far as numbers so far this year in the first half of the season. And then Michael Wacha has been very good. I mean, he's settled in now just as far as production as the number 4 guy. They lost him for a while with that fracture in his foot to the IL, but in the several starts leading up to that, he was very, very good, and he's a terrific number 4 starter. And of course, Alec Marsh, who was on New Day with SSJ earlier this week, he's even said it, he's been inconsistent, but we've seen him go out and have games like he did against the New York Yankees where he flirted with a no-hitter. The bullpen betrayed him, but he helped the Royals get a win in a very important spot when they were trying to avoid the sweep to the Yankees, the 4-game sweep. So starting pitching hasn't been the problem. At times the bullpen has been the problem, and for the last couple of weeks the offense has certainly been a problem. But again, that was a huge spot last night in that 8th inning with 2 outs and nobody on. Bobby Witt Jr. hits a triple, and then the Royals put together a string of hits, put up 5 runs, and then you look up and all of a sudden a 1-0 deficit, and then they're high-fiving and celebrating with a 5-1 victory just minutes later. And that's huge. They win the series, and now, and look, hey, momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, but that's usually been pretty good for the Kansas City Royals. But now they at least feel like, whether it's real or not, they can feel like they have some sort of momentum and some good vibes as they win that series 2 out of 3 against the Marlins and get ready for an incredible Cleveland team that's coming off a loss. They come into Kansas City 51-27 with an 8-game lead over Minnesota, with a 9-game lead over the Royals, and the Royals get them for 4 games now here at Kauffman Stadium with a chance, hopefully, to do some damage. And we'll see. It ain't going to be easy. Cleveland has been from another world, right? I mean, their winning percentage is the best in the American League at 654. Yankees winning percentage is 634. All right, the only team that has a better winning percentage in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies, at 663. So Cleveland has been fantastic. Their run differential is plus 105. The only other teams with a run differential over 100, the Dodgers at plus 120, the Phillies at plus 122, and Baltimore at plus 110. And then you've got Cleveland at plus 105. So there's nothing that's a fluke about it. You look at them on paper and you don't think they're one of the best teams in baseball, but they are. And like any team with that type of record, they're good away from Cleveland. They're incredible at home. They're the only team in Major League Baseball right now that still has single-digit losses at home. They're 26-9 at home, but away they're 25-18, which is still damn good. And so now the Royals hopefully can build upon what they did against the Marlins. And, I mean, you'd like to say, hey, just win, split. But no, they've got to make up some ground. They've got to do some damage. And so, screw it. Go out there and win 3 out of 4. I mean, you have a golden opportunity here with 4 games against Cleveland. And you got Michael Wacha on the mound to start things off tonight. And Michael Wacha, again, has been very, very good. Then you'll have Alec Marsh in Game 2. Will it be the Alec Marsh that we saw against the Yankees, or the Alec Marsh who has been inconsistent since then, who has been trying to get back to what that was? Then on Saturday and Sunday, let's go. Cole Reagans, the man, on Saturday. That's going to be fun. On Saturday when Bo Jackson is honored as the latest inductee into the Royals Hall of Fame, and Cole Reagans on the mound, coming in with a 3.03 ERA. And then on Sunday, right back to Seth Lugo. So the opportunities there, Big Jake, for the Royals to do something against Cleveland. It ain't going to be easy. Cleveland's one of the best teams in baseball, but at least the Royals are coming off of something good in this final game against the Marlins, something to build on, and they got a shot here to turn things around, turn a season around that started off so promising that they've kind of let things get away from them the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a pivotal moment. I mean, that my butt was puckered. I mean, that's you.
Wow.
I'm look. You know, this team doesn't quit. They prove it over and over again. But I mean, 2 outs in the 8th. You're not. I mean, you can be as hopeful as you want. I wasn't. I wasn't very hopeful at all because of the recent trends. But as bad as they've been playing and as bad as they've been hitting and the struggles with the bullpen, I mean, they did have a great start, but they're only a game back from the Twins right now, and basically, you know, 1,000th of a percentage point behind the Red Sox for that last wild card spot. So it's like, you know, what a great opportunity this is. I mean, to gain some room in the division if you take 3 out of 4, and that's just a mammoth task because the Guardians, they might be the best team in baseball. I mean, with the injuries that the Yankees are dealing with now, I mean, the Guardians right now are as hot as anybody. I mean, the Yankees got a beatdown last night to the Mets. But so what a statement that would be, and what a momentum builder that would be to take 3 out of 4 against, you know, the team that's maybe the best team in the American League, certainly the favorite to win the Central right now as we stand. But, yeah, they had to. I mean, I did not feel good about yesterday at all. And for them to, you know, Bobby Witt Jr. get that big triple, to, you know, I think Vinny in his postgame called him a fireball. He got that team going. And the trend has been brutal, but, you know, like you said, you're only as good as the next day starter, and the starting pitching has been phenomenal. And that's is really why the Royals are where they are. I mean, you talked about it before we even went into the season. It's like they acquired these guys like Lugo and Waka, and now it's going to take pressure off Brady Singer to not have to be the guy. You know, Reagan's is you know, the quote-unquote ace. He's your first starter. Lugo's been pitching like one. But for Singer to just go out and be that fourth starter, like yesterday afternoon, it's like that's the example of the pressure. Like, he had pressure on him yesterday. And he's been, I mean, fantastic. Way better than, you know, we would have hoped for. You know, you just hope for an ERA under 4. And, you know, he's damn near flirting with, you know, barely hovering over 3. So it's like you're allowing him to grow into the potential that he was drafted on. The guy that we really thought, you know, the Royals got when they took him with such a high draft pick. And, you know, that's panning out. And it's, you really, I don't know at what point in time are moves going to need to be made, because, you know, that 5-run 8th inning was just, it was great, but it's still like they have been horrible at the plate. Like those numbers that you were saying, you know, those are staggering, and you hope it can trend, you know, as you get guys like Massey back and Renfroe, but it's still there's. You feel like there needs to be some kind of move to shake things up in that outfield. So great win. They had to have it, and now it's on to the next. That what they say, they turn the page. So game 1 of 4 games against the Guardians. It's going to be an exciting Thursday into the weekend here in Kansas City as the Royals are taking on Cleveland. So I'm pumped for it.
You know, and that brings up a good debate. There's no doubt that they need bullpen help and they need help in the outfield. But what's more important? What's the priority? I don't know. It depends on what day it is, right? It depends on how, you know, it seems every other day I'll change what I feel about that. Like, no, they need bullpen help now. But then watching that game, boy, they need to end a bat now.
Yeah.
Until the 8th inning. Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic reported that the Royals currently prioritized relief help over its search for additional outfield talent. And so I don't know how much you agree with that. And this was a day or two ago when he reported this, And at the time, the Royals relievers ranked 21st in the majors with a 4.37 ERA, but they were last in baseball with a 17.7% strikeout rate from the bullpen. And their 10% walk rate from the bullpen was the seventh worst mark in Major League Baseball. And so, yeah, you could certainly make the case that bullpen help should be the priority. But then also when I talk about what I did with what the Royals offense has been through and how they've struggled, if you tell me, no, the most important thing is to get an outfield bat, is to try to help the offense, I agree. Do you have a preference if I told you right now they can address one thing before the All-Star break, either the bullpen or the outfield? Which would you pick?
I think I'd go with the bat right now, just because I feel like you can fix a bullpen easier than you can fix, struggling bats. Because we just saw what that does. Because it's almost, I don't know, it's the chicken and egg, right? Because we saw how great Lugo looked with only one run support, and then the bullpen came in and blew it, right? But they still had no support. So it's like even if you have great starting pitching and you get to that bullpen and you can't put up runs, it's like what's good at having that bullpen or having bullpen help when you can't even get a lead to secure a win? But then it's like, if you get runs and then you hand it over to the bullpen and they blow it, like what's more disheartening than that? But if I had my pick, I think right now, just because there is so much talent at the top end of this lineup that if they got just a little bit of help at the bottom, I mean, I think that's where I'd go because, we saw what they can do, put up 5 runs in one inning, and they haven't done that all month. So I just feel like with the strength of this team is clearly the starting rotation. You keep them healthy. I think if you just added some runs to this lineup, I think starting pitching can get you to the back end of that bullpen, which, MacArthur's been pretty solid. He's had his struggles without a doubt, but he came in again yesterday and took care of business. So it's like if you can just get runs and get it to that back end, and you have guys like Lugo and Singer and Waka and Reagans, I think for me it's the bat. It's putting runs up on the board.
Yeah, you just got to get in where you fit in maybe, and who knows, whatever's available, right? Obviously there's more relievers around than there are outfielders that can help the offense, but whatever you can match up on with another team. Of course, the answer is both.
Right.
But I'll take either one. I'll take whatever they can get. But, yeah, outfield probably is going to – well, you've seen some crazy returns on relievers in the past. Teams will overpay for relievers, and everybody needs bullpen help. There's not a team in Major League Baseball that's a contender that's going to turn their nose up at the opportunity to add a reliever. And not everyone needs a bat the way the Royals do. They're desperate to add some offense. And so it may be easier to add some type of reliever. I think they'll end up pulling off a trade for both. They still know how big of a bat they're going to be able to grab without giving up more than they want to. It will be interesting to see, though, to find out what teams actually declare themselves as sellers besides the obvious teams that are already out of it. Because like we've talked about, there's so many teams in the National League who are hovering around 500 or actually below 500. They could still call themselves contenders because nobody is seizing those wild card spots in the National League. But bottom line is this: Royals won 5-1 because of a big-time 5-run rally in the 8th inning. Started off by a triple from Bobby Witt Jr. And then everyone followed Bobby Witt Jr. And again, Bobby Witt Jr., another reason, another moment that we'll think about of why he is an MVP contender. 2 outs, nobody on, offense looks dead. He gets a triple, lights the fuse, and the team goes off for 5 runs, gets the win, wins the series, and now gets ready to host the Cleveland Guardians in a big 4-game series starting tonight out at Kauffman Stadium. We'll be right back after this with more on New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you so much for joining us. Royals win 5-1 over the Marlins yesterday. Get ready for Cleveland tonight. Let's listen to Royals manager Matt Quatrero, who spoke to the media after the Royals won the game and won the series against the Marlins yesterday afternoon at Kauffman Stadium.
He can do that anytime he's up, but in that spot we had clearly been pretty dead offensively, and he got that ball off his leg earlier and was hobbling around, and for him to gut through it and get to third was huge.
Just to keep the line moving after, I know we talked a lot about Anderson's scoring position. What did you see from your offense?
Yeah, 2 outs, nobody on, right? And I don't know how many, 7 hits that, 6. Yeah, and just the quality of what they swung at too. I mean, Brazovan came in, did a good job yesterday. Today, once we got the line moving a little bit, the guys put some really good swings on it. Lofton's at bat was a great at bat. Clearly, Salvi, giving us the lead, and so many things happen in that inning. Blanco, then taking the extra bases, going first to third to keep setting up runners in scoring position. I mean, like we've talked about, sometimes we're not going to come through, but we got to keep putting pressure on and keep putting ourselves in those positions.
Matt, are you at a point when you see Bobby hit that ball that off the bat it's a triple?
I knew he was going to go for it. Yeah, I mean, if they execute the relay, maybe there's a chance. But I mean, it's so deep out there, and his speed, it's pretty guaranteed.
And how much more pressure does it put on them to have it be a triple instead of a double? I mean, in terms of both electrifying, as Andy said, but also just what it does to change the dynamic.
Yeah, well, especially with a left-handed hitter coming up next, because their third baseman's going to want to vacate, so Bobby can extend his lead. Maybe that has something to do with giving a better pitch. And his best pitch is his changeup, so probably trying to stay away from bouncing it, so score on a wild pitch, all that kind of stuff. So it puts a lot of pressure on.
How important is it to have someone like Vinny come through time and time again in those clutch situations to, give you guys a chance to move that line down the board?
Well, I mean, yeah, we tie the game because of his hit. We had been dead offensively, and so for him to come through, not just for, the double before was a good swing, and then that swing right there, just give him validation. I know how hard he's working. I know how hard all these guys are working, and for them to come through, I mean, that's why you play the game, is to help your team win.
And Brady Singer, what'd you see out of him on the mound?
Yeah, the efficiency was what was most impressive. I know that he mixed in more four-seamers today and got some good swings or bad swings on him, and also some bigger sliders. So he gave him a different look, and he wanted to keep going. He had it in his mind today he was going to carry us, and that's what he did.
Do you feel like he got just better as the game went on, just with the efficiency as you're talking about?
Yeah, what's impressive to me about Brady is if he's going good and locating, today he had different ways to get him out. Because if he's going to go 3 times through, we've talked about this a lot, if he's only using 2 pitches, that's really tough against a good major league lineup. For him to go to the four-seamer, use the bigger slider, the smaller slider, all those things kept giving them different looks, and clearly he was locating too.
You said, he came in with the mindset that he's going to carry you guys. What gave off that impression?
I just know that, and I know the fact, he only, I took him out after 5 in Texas. I know he wanted to keep going. I mean, we've talked, several times, not just this week, about what he means to us and what we think of him, and if we're going to go somewhere, he's going to be a huge part of that, and he, clearly that's what he wants, and he executed that today.
That was Matt Quatrero after the game. We mentioned the excellent pitching performance from Brady Singer. We also mentioned the lack of run support that he's received. In 12 of his 16 starts this year, Brady Singer has received very little run support. The Royals have scored 2 runs or less in 12 of his 16 starts this year. But Brady Singer, again, got no run support, went 7 1/3 innings, only gave up 1 run, left down 1-0. But at least saw his team come back and win. He didn't get the win, but the Royals got the win. Here's Brady Singer in his comments after the game.
Yeah, it was good. I think the biggest thing was getting deep in the game. I've struggled with that a little bit, and able to get some quick innings here and keep my pitch count reasonable, and able to pitch in the 8th inning there was huge for me.
What was key for the efficiency today?
I think staying in the strike zone, using different pitches too. The four seam was much different, a lot better today than it has been in the past. We've been working on that all week, so being able to throw that and have success with it was huge.
What type of adjustment did you make with the four seam during the week?
Yeah, just some different cues, a little bit of a grip change, and we've been looking into it a lot and trying to figure out how to make it more consistent and stuff like that. So being able to throw that and use that more today and have success with it was, I think, a huge reason to get me deep into that outing.
Brady, were you in here or were you in the dugout during the bottom of the 8th there?
I was burning hot, so I came in a little early. But no, I was watching on TV there. Just incredible, to get those runs there in the 8th. Obviously, tough day for them throughout the first 7 innings there. For them to grind back and do what they did, and it's how we're going to win games. It's how we're going to stay, in this thing. And it was awesome to see them do that today.
When you say staying in this thing, was there a premium on today's game before the Guardians series?
I mean, yeah. I think there's a premium every game for us. But yeah, it's obviously, a series we wanted to win and had to come out here and use good pitching, good offense, and good defense to win that game. For them to come through there at the end was huge.
And that's right. That's the right answer because. When we had Scott Sharp on the show yesterday, he did not shy away from that idea, and he wasn't even talking about the Royals. I was asking him about that walk-off pitch clock violation involving the Nationals over the weekend, and I just asked him about what he thought of that. And he said, look, every game's important. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in May or June or towards the end of the year in September. It doesn't matter. All these games count the same. And he had just mentioned that, he didn't like seeing a game not decided by the players, and I agree with him. It is a rule, but, I don't think anyone involved with baseball wants to see walk-off pitch clock violations for wins, right? But he said, can you imagine – if that's something that would keep a team out of a wild card spot or, out of a playoff spot or out of the division lead when it comes down to the end of the season. They go, oh, look back at that pitch clock violation. That would be bad for baseball. All these games matter, and if the Royals end up one game out of a wild card spot on the outside looking in when it comes to the postseason, we're going to look back to this June swoon. We're going to look back and look at some of the missed opportunities. We're going to look back maybe at that game, the second game against the Marlins, where they just feels like they gave the game away when Lugo had such a great start. They'll look back and look. The Royals have come back and won games that they shouldn't have won, so it balances it out. But sometimes there's a tendency to say, well, it's early, we'll get it back. It's only June. It wasn't that big of a game. But I like the fact that Brady Singer said, no, there was a premium on this game. They're all important. There's a premium on all these games, especially now when you don't have any margin for error when it comes to a playoff spot because the Royals had that bad road trip and all of their lead in the wild card and their cushion was washed away. Yeah, these games are important. So are they must-win games? Are there must-win games in June? No. But these are super important games, and you just can't feel great about a team's chances to be a playoff team if you're losing series to teams like Oakland and Miami. You already lost that series to Oakland. Put it in the past. Don't let it happen again. And they damn near let it happen again against another bad team that right now after the loss sits at 28-52. And after that loss last night, they're 12-25 on the road. You can't let a team that's 12-25 on the road come into your place and win 2 out of 3. Just can't do it. All right? You got to win 2 out of 3. You have to show you're the better team because you've got Cleveland coming in here for 4 straight. And the Royals did what they had to do. Was it beautiful? No.
Can't do
but
it.
The result's beautiful. They win 5-1. Brady Singer's a big part of it. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the benefit of the win and his statistics, but I'm sure he'll be the first one to tell you he doesn't care whether he gets the win. He just cares whether the Royals get the win, and that's exactly what they did, 5-1 over the Marlins. We will be right back after this. More on New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk to Buster Olney from ESPN, our baseball insider, coming up just after 7 o'clock. Then, of course, Gary Dieter and Anthony Sherman will be with us in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star will be with us in the 9 o'clock hour. Stephen St. John and Jake Guterrez on this Thursday, June 27th, 2024. Jake, I see the headline here, Georgia stuns Portugal in the biggest ever Euro upset. As Georgia booked a place in the last 16 of Euro 2024. In their debut appearance in a major tournament, they won 2-0 over Portugal last night. And it says it's the biggest upset by FIFA rankings in European Championship history. But you say there's a reason for that, or at least there's a reason why you're not as impressed, or whatever. I'm not going to put you out.
No, it's just
You told me in the commercial break, big effing deal,
Well,
St. John.
I don't think I use that kind of colorful language.
Okay.
But Portugal was already into the next round, and so really it was just a matter of whether they're going to win their group or just move on into the second. So the top two, in Euros, the top two teams out of your group play. You play round robin, 4 teams in the group, and you move on. And this one's a little bit different because there are a couple third place teams that move on with the highest point totals, just the way it's structured. So Portugal had advanced already. It didn't matter what the result of the game against Georgia was. And so they sat a bunch of their regular starters. They started Cristiano Ronaldo, who most, even the fringe soccer fans know who Cristiano Ronaldo is. One of the biggest stars. Getting up there in age, he's 37 now. So they kept him in the lineup just because he hasn't scored. He's actually played really unselfish during these Euros and been a team player, which has kind of been a knock on him in the past. But, just to hopefully get him a goal, because if he scores a goal, he'll be the oldest player in the history of the Euros to score a goal. So the manager kind of had him out there doing that, but I think there were 7 or 8 starter regular guys that play. Look, Portugal's second team is probably should be Georgia. But in terms of the ranking, that's why it was, good for Georgia. It was a fun game to watch, but it was also okay. I understood why, and one of the goals was a penalty, and so once they went down, it was kind of inevitable. But it wasn't earth-shattering. It wasn't like Portugal was playing for their life and Georgia knocked them out of the tournament or anything like that. So the biggest upset in terms of rankings, just numbers-wise, Portugal have their best team out on the field. So it wasn't an absolute shocker. I was just curious to see what the odds were.
What about how damaging was the loss for Mexico to Venezuela?
That one, that was an interesting match. Because Mexico drew a penalty with the VAR and there was a handball in the box in the last 5 minutes of the match. And SoFi Stadium was electric. The 80,000 fans were mostly Mexico, but Venezuelan fans in there as well. And the game was back and forth. Mexico had a lot of early opportunities they couldn't capitalize on, but damaging, they could still advance. Look, they're sitting at third currently in their group behind Ecuador and Venezuela. Jamaica's pretty much out of it. That's the fourth team in that group. But they could still go out and advance with a win, I believe, in their next match. So it just was, the place thought, okay, we at least got a tie. And I was shocked when the keeper saved the penalty. Like a huge sigh of relief from the Mexico fans. Like, oh, okay. be okay. We're going to get a point. We'll be in the top 2 of our team. And then when they missed the penalty, or when the penalty was saved, it was frantic. And Mexico had some other opportunities towards the end and stoppage time. And couldn't put it away, and Venezuela didn't get the win over Mexico in Copa America. So a little bit of a surprise there. But Mexico plays Ecuador on Sunday at 7, and so a win and probably a draw in that game, depending on the difference to the quarterfinals.
All right, you expect the U.S. men's national team not to have any problems with Panama?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. Now, what's that mean? I don't mean. There's lots of times the United States teams shouldn't have trouble with the squad and go out and struggle. But they looked really good against Bolivia the other night, but I think that was more of an indictment on Bolivia. Bolivia is the worst team in the tournament, but U.S. went out and did what they needed to do. They got a 2-0 win in Dallas. So, good win. The U.S. looked really good, and Christian Pulisic had a beautiful goal early in the first 5 minutes out of the corner. And so, I mean, they are looking. They had a lot of opportunities. That was probably the biggest problem for the U.S. because that game they should have had at least probably, minimum 3 or 4 goals, and they ended up only finishing 2. They really struggled to finish, but the point was they had the opportunity. So putting those away, and I expect them to at least get a result. I think a loss is devastating because they're having to come to Kansas City next week. Probably, FIFA ranks the United States over Uruguay, but historically speaking, Uruguay is a better squad than the United States. So that's easily the toughest competition in their group. That'll be their toughest game. But if they went and got a win against Panama, it really probably wouldn't matter what the result against Uruguay would be, which would be a great position to be in. You can just go out and not have any pressure and play free-flowing soccer, and that would be great for the United States. So the game's at 5, I believe, tonight against Panama. So they need to get 3 points and kind of put the rest any chance of not advancing, which they should not have problems with Panama.
All right, they're finally a soccer insider reporting here on 810. We will take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by our baseball insider from ESPN, Buster Olney, on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
new day with SSJ is presented by Walker Medical Linen Services, locally owned and operated. HLAC certified to the highest medical laundry standards. Walker has partnerships with hospitals, surgery centers, and medical clinics in and around the metro area. Walker Medical Linen Services in Kansas City and online at walkermls.com.